we don't plan on becoming junkies. Nobody thinks they're going to end up as bad as they end up. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. Who the hell am I? I'm Angie, and I was a junkie for almost 20 years of my life. In and out of jails, so many detoxes, arrests, homelessness, overdoses, all the things. Now I'm in my 5th year in recovery. It's just fucking bananas. The first time I got high off of any substance, I didn't even do anything. I didn't take anything. I didn't smoke anything. I didn't ingest anything. I had actually gotten a contact high from sitting in my friend's pickup truck while they were hotboxing and smoking a joint. It was fucking hilarious. Everything was funny. After I got that initial contact high was when I officially started smoking weed. But it didn't last long, because when I was 16, I think the first time when I got that contact high, it might have been 14 or 15. But when I was 16, a few of my friends and I got a dime bag of weed. Do you remember dime bags? Oh my goodness. And I swear it was laced with PCP, because I had the worst trip from it. I literally thought I was dying. It was traumatizing. I stopped smoking weed altogether after that, anytime I would smoke, I would slip back into this awful thinking I was gonna die. It was fucking terrifying. So I literally stopped smoking weed until probably after college. But I still drank here and there. It was never a problem for me. We had, parties in the woods. We would get kegs of beer and drink and whatever, but it was never something I prioritized. When I did get drunk, I remember becoming this, alter ego, this different person. I actually had nicknames. In high school, my nickname was Shaniqua. I don't know why. It was just because I became more outgoing. I came out of my shell. You have always been this very reserved person, kind of a loner, on the outside of pretty much everything. All of my friends, while they were taking acid and doing shrooms and, getting fucked up and smoking and doing all these things, I was there physically, but I never participated. It just wasn't a priority for me. I was terrified from that, laced weed PCP experience. I hated that feeling of losing control, not being able to reel myself in. So that really stopped me from experimenting with anything until literally right before I graduated from undergrad. I was 17 when I started college. I have a late birthday. So right before I graduated, I remember my classes ended in winter, December or November, and I was going directly into grad school after I graduated from undergrad. So I had from December to the following September off, which I was waiting tables and back living with my mom. And that's when I tried Coke for the first time. And I absolutely fell in love with Coke. All of my friends had already been doing it, so it really wasn't that big of a deal to even try it. The first time it was physically in front of me. I was with a bunch of my guy friends in a car, and I tried it. And it was no big deal, but I remember absolutely loving the feeling. Absolutely fucking loved it. It gave me that feeling of being sociable and coming out of my shell and letting my hair down and being happy and letting go without having to drink the booze. I hated drinking booze. I hated the taste of it. But with the Coke came more booze, because you drink more when you're doing Coke. So during that time between undergrad and grad school, from December, November until the following September, I went off to grad school. I literally was partying every single fucking night. I was waiting tables. I was out with my friends every night, getting drunk, doing Coke, not sleeping, all the things. So I can't help but think that a little piece of me was I never partied during high school when all my friends were doing it. I never partied even in college. My 21st birthday, I didn't even get drunk. All my friends were drunk. My friends were buying me shots, and I didn't even take them. I was kind of a Debbie Downer my whole life. Let's be honest. Convinced myself that it was okay, because I never really did it before. So it didn't really even dawn on me that I might have a problem until I went to grad school, and I literally just couldn't stop thinking about partying still. I would be at school during the week, and then I was kind of this weekend warrior where I'd get drunk and party on the weekends and, stay up all weekend. And then I'd be up at 3 a.m. writing a paper without sleep. Only a couple months into grad school was when I met this kid who was an admitted addict. I have so many stories. I could go off on so many tangents. I'm just kind of trying to stick to the point here. Somebody asked me a question. But I met this kid who was already, like, he was an admitted addict. He was an ex-junkie, and we started doing coke together. And he kind of looked at me after like the first night we did coke, and we stayed up all fucking night. We drove like 2 hours to get coke, and it was a mess. And he looked at me and he was like, you know, you might want to look at this issue. Like, I think you might have a little problem with this substance. And I kind of already knew it in the back of my head. I started to really think about doing something about it. Me and this kid started going to meetings together. It was great. I met so many great people. It took me a few months to, stop using altogether. But the day after Christmas, what year was that? 2002? What the fuck year was I in grad school? The day after Christmas, 2002 was my first sobriety date. And I stayed 100% sober. I didn't drink or do coke or anything for over a year after that. I think I stayed sober for like 16 months. Going to meetings, not doing anything else though. I didn't do any step work. I didn't really have a sponsor. I didn't really do anything else but go to meetings. But that fucking worked for me. This is how I know AA works. I know meetings work. I know it works. I have so many friends that it's worked for. Some of them I still talk to. Unfortunately, most of them are dead. Some of them are still thriving and living their best lives in sobriety, which is fucking amazing. Oh, I see a butterfly. So when I graduated from grad school, I was sober. I started getting away from meetings, started convincing myself that I didn't have a problem anymore and that I didn't have to go to meetings. After I graduated, I got licensed. I was a licensed social worker. The job that I took was a good job. It was for the city of Boston. It was great fucking benefits. I was working in an inpatient program in the addiction field for chronically homeless individuals that were duly diagnosed with HIV, AIDS, and addiction. So it was a difficult job. But it was during this job when I started having some health issues. I had my gallbladder removed. I had some female stuff going on, some cysts, some hemorrhaging, some other procedures that I had to have. I had 2 surgeries within 6 months and another procedure. And because of that, I was given medication. And having this medication was when I fell in love for the first time with the opiate high. I really didn't know it then. I didn't really put it together, but it kind of planted a seed in my brain. But that's what initiated my official relapse, because I kept it to myself. After I ran out of the Percocets, I convinced myself that I was still in so much pain I needed to buy some off the street. I didn't really continue taking them though, but it ultimately led to me relapsing on everything. And I bought a bottle of wine, and I got a bunch of coke, and I did all the things. It was around that time that I also realized that you could actually sniff heroin. And as soon as I figured that out, it was like instantaneously I wanted to try it. It's not as bad then. I'll do it like that. And so on my birthday that year, I think it was 2004, how I wanted to celebrate was by trying heroin for the first time. Looking back on it, it's like I wasn't scared. I was not fearful. I thought I could control it. The first time I did heroin, I was like, this is it. I'm not gonna let it control me. I can control it. I can do this. I can do this. Every single person looked at me and was like, Ange, you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna end up homeless. You're gonna end up in jail. Jail's institution's death. But I didn't care. I was not gonna end up a junkie. We don't plan on becoming junkies. Nobody thinks they're gonna end up as bad as they end up. Nobody does. But where I was at in my life, I didn't enjoy my job. I didn't really enjoy anything about what I was doing. The only thing I really enjoyed was getting high. So it makes sense looking back that that's what I prioritize. I started affecting my job. I started falling asleep in work meetings. I started being late to work all the time. Obviously, you can tell when someone's high on dope. They get the fucking face and the eyes. I mean, my eyes are so dark. You can't even see my pupils anyways. But I mean, I worked in the addiction field. People I worked with were sober. I convinced myself that, I didn't like the job anyways. And if I only had a job that wasn't in the addiction field, that I could continue on getting high. But it wasn't until my boss at the time referred me to the Employee Assistance Program, which is the EAP, which is like, here, get help. I was like, okay, I'm going to get fired. So what did I do? I quit before I could get fired. Because if I could find a job, not in the addiction field, then I would be fine. So I found a job working for the state now. I was finding good jobs. Working for the state of Massachusetts at an adolescent locked facility. So it's like an adolescent jail. for females under the age of 16 that had, all the issues. I didn't make it past the 3-month probationary period because my addiction. I could not show up to work on time, even though I literally lived 5 minutes away. I would disappear during my lunch break because I had to go meet my dope man who would make me wait for hours. So that was my priority, and I would just disappear. I would completely just miss meetings entirely and show up and be like, oh, I would show up to work in tank tops and short sleeves with the worst track marks you have ever seen. It looked like I was mauled by a tiger, saying that they're cat scratches or surgery or, whatever excuses I would use. So that job didn't last long. I actually ended up getting fired. And from that, I collected unemployment, which was just another excuse for me not to find another job. But in my brain, I convinced myself that I was going to be able to find another job waiting tables. I wasn't going to try to be a therapist anymore because I could make more money waiting tables anyways, which was actually true. But I digress. That was the beginning. That was the beginning of my junkie life. Within a year of trying it, I was jobless, homeless, broke. And my solution to those things was to start being a criminal, to start stealing from family, to start doing whatever I could to continue getting high, because that was the most important thing in my life at the time. A bunch of bad decisions, a bunch of fucking consequences. I started getting arrested. The first time I got arrested was for a felony. So I share my story to spread awareness because there is still so much ignorance out there. On my posts, there's so many people shaming and saying, why? You should have known better. You're educated. You were a therapist and you still tried heroin. When you try a really bad substance and the world doesn't end and you don't die, it's like, oh, maybe this isn't so bad. I could do this. Everybody makes bad decisions. Looking back, I didn't know that I was unhappy. I didn't know that I was looking for something to fill something. I didn't know what I didn't know. Now looking back, of course, I know these things. But at the time, I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know the reason behind what I was doing. I was just following what I wanted, what made me feel good. And unfortunately for me, heroin made me feel good until it didn't anymore, until it took everything away from me and it ended, jails, institutions, death. I've died a few times. I've been into multiple jails, so many arrests. I'm a convicted felon. I lost my license to practice therapy. I've been homeless for a few years in the dead of winter. All of the things, I've been there. I've done it. And I'm here telling you that if I can do this fucking recovery thing, so can you. I promise. I promise. Don't give up on yourself and do not quit before the miracle happens. It's so fucking cliche, but seriously, don't. Because as long as you are putting yourself first, as long as you are prioritizing your own well-being, things will unfold for you. As long as we take care of ourselves and learn to love ourselves first, everything else falls into place. I promise. So that's it. Stay tuned for more videos because I got so many more stories to tell. Okay, I love you. Thanks, bye. My memory is so shot from all the drugs. It's fucking insane. The benzos have fucked with my memory so much that it's literally taken me 97,000 times to even tell my story because I keep getting the timing wrong. It's bananas. I digress.